to Confidence Building with Shiny New Entrepreneurs. My name is Kate McCosh and I'm a confidence coach. So in previous episodes we've looked at how our thoughts drive our fear response and bring about all these physiological changes in our bodies based on our perception of an event. In this episode we're going to be looking a little deeper at how our thoughts control our feelings, but first a quick experiment. Now, between each of the three scenarios I talk about, I'm going to give you some time to really think about these images. So don't worry if I go quiet for a while. First, I want you to imagine an animal, any type you choose. Close your eyes if it helps and see the animal in your mind's eye. Once you've got a really clear picture of it, I want you to change its colouring to something unusual, maybe something bright. Once you've got that image in your head, I want you to give the animal a different pattern, so floral, dot, stripe, zigzags, etc. Put a hat on this animal, give it some shoes, and now for the final thing, I want you to imagine this animal singing your favourite song badly, maybe having a bit of a dance while it's at it. So get that really clear in your mind. Right, number two. Now I want you to think of a time when something made you really happy, maybe laugh really, really hard, or you just felt really, really good about yourself. Really immerse yourself in this feeling. Feel what you felt, see what you saw, hear what you heard. What were you doing? What were people saying to you? What were you thinking about in this wonderful moment? Where do you feel it in your body? Just notice what you notice. Just really let yourself be in that moment. And third and finally, I want you to imagine that you have a beautiful bright yellow lemon in your hand. Now imagine bring it up to your nose and just smelling that beautiful, gorgeous lemon scent. Now imagine holding it even close and taking a big bite of that beautiful lemon. Feel your teeth going through that waxy peel and into the bitter lemon itself. Really, really immerse yourself in it again. And notice what you notice. So why the experiment? I will explain all in just a moment, but first let's hear from some incredible thinkers who were ahead of their time, namely Viktor Frankl and the obvious Gandhi. So Viktor Frankl, if you haven't already heard of him, he was an Austrian psychiatrist working in a Vienna hospital helping people who were mentally ill and particularly those who were suicidal. He faced his own demons when he and his family became prisoners of war in Auschwitz, where, as you can imagine, he saw the absolute worst of humanity. Now this could have led to fear, anger, frustration, but instead of it making him bitter and single, he chose a very different path. He decided to focus instead on the compassion and warmth of humanity that he witnessed at this incredibly difficult time. For example, a prisoner sharing his meagre rations with another, someone singing to someone to comfort them, all beautiful acts in what must have been a most horrific experience. One of his famous quotes is this: "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way." Another one of his wonderful quotes is as follows: "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response, and in our response lies our growth and our freedom." As human beings, we're not light bulbs. In a particular stimulus, like flipping a switch, always equals the same response. You flick the switch, the light comes on. X does not have to equal Y. If something bad happens to us, we do not have to respond in a given way. We get to choose how we react in any given moment, full stop. We get to choose, and we do this by our thoughts. Now this is the greatest superpower there is. To quote another amazing man, Gandhi, "Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny." Now a belief is just a thought we have had over and over again until we act as though it were true and we live our lives by it. Nothing was ever created that a thought did not first precede. Look around the room. All of the furniture, all of the soft furnishings, all of the technology, the creation of all of it started with a thought. So how can you use this? Well, to answer this, let's go back to the thought experiment at the start. In the first task, I asked you to imagine an animal and then change it. Now, hopefully, unless you're someone who really struggles with visual imagery, you would have found this quite easy to do. You took an image that you knew and you changed it to something completely different. You changed your thoughts. In the next task, you thought about an experience that brought you happiness or joy. And as you're remembering what you thought at the time, if you were fully immersed in experience, then you also felt the emotions of it as well. You used your thoughts to feel a particular emotion, a happy one. Then finally, I asked you to imagine smelling and then sucking on a lemon. Now, if you're anything like me, the moment I think about it, my mouth starts wincing and I produce a lot more saliva. So you used your thoughts in this instance to create a physical sensation, the sensation of your mouth watering or wincing. So using your thoughts, you changed an image, you created a specific emotion, and then you brought about a specific physical reaction, the wincing or producing more saliva, again to a specific thought. Simply put, all three of these things show just how powerful our thoughts are. We can consciously choose our thoughts, and this drives both our emotions and our physical sensations. We can consciously choose. That is the key message here. We can choose how we want to feel both physically and emotionally by choosing a corresponding thought. If you want to feel sad, think of Bambi. Want to make your heart race? Think of something that frightens you or someone you fancy. Want to feel successful? Think back to one of your greatest achievements. We really are in the driving seat here. So the technique I'm going to run through with you today is called the swish method and is a classic NLP technique. For those of you not familiar with NLP, it purely stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and in essence is a way of programming our brains for success using our thoughts. But first, a little experiment to get you ready. Close your eyes and imagine in your mind's eye something that you don't particularly like. It can be anything. It could be fruit, veg, it could be a person, it could be an object. Just see it in front of you, this thing that you don't particularly like. Now what I want you to do is I want you to make the colours of that object in your mind's eye bolder and brighter, and then bring it closer to you. Again, in your mind's eye, bring it closer and closer and larger. And just notice what you notice. Notice how you feel about it. Now this image is brighter and closer to you. Now change the image. Make the image black and white, make it darker, smaller or more muted, and start to move the image further and further away from you. Keep going until you can no longer see it, like it's disappeared completely. So just let it move further and further away from your visual field. How did that make you feel? For a lot of people, making something bigger, bolder, brighter and closer makes the experience more intense. And by making the colours black and white, darker, and the object smaller, and then moving it further away, reduces the impact that it has on you. It's like gaining distance from something, albeit in your mind. Now in series 2, we'll use this same technique to change a memory, as it can be incredibly powerful. But for now, let me run through the steps for changing a negative thought, particularly one that causes a fear response in your body. So as usual, there are full written instructions on my website at confidencebuildingwithkate.co.uk. So do check it out. It's a free download. Do check it out. So let's just run through it now quickly. So step 1, identify what issue is causing the feelings of anxiety or stress. So for example, it may be going networking, it may be ringing a client back, or writing an article for social media. Whatever the issue is that's causing the anxiety. Step 2, identify what happens to you internally as you feel anxious or stressed. So for example, does your stomach start churning over? Do you hyperventilate? Does your breathing get shallow? Bring up an image in your mind of the context in which this happens. So for example, if going networking, it may be walking into a room or starting up the Zoom call. Find an image that sums this feeling up for you. So in this instance, it could be a door or putting a name badge on, etc. Whatever it is for you. Step 3, rate your emotional response on a scale of 1 to 10. 10 being you are almost paralysed with fear, and 1 being it hardly affects you at all. How would you rate your reaction to this thought? Just give it a mark out of 10. So step 4, if this is how you usually act in this context, how would you like to act? Assured, confident, and in control, take as long as you need to imagine yourself acting how you want to act in this situation. This is going to be your replacement thought. If you want to act confidently, imagine walking in the room with your head held high, your eyes shining, shoulders back, and a smile on your face. Your body language is open and welcoming, and you're ready for anything. Step 5. Now, in your mind's eye, bring up the image that creates the negative feelings in your body. As you see it in front of you, as we did a moment ago, change the colours to black and white or blurry and see the image move further and further away from you. Now quickly bring up the image of the one you want to have instead, the replacement image, right over the top of where the negative image was. Now make this new replacement image brighter, bolder, and bring the image closer to you. Notice the new feelings associated with this positive image. Repeat this last bit 5 times. This is really important, getting quicker each time. You're replacing the negative image with a new positive image, in effect reprogramming your brain for how you want to feel instead. Repetition is key here. Step 7. When you completed this exercise and swapped out the old image with the new image over 5 times, check in with the old image and see what emotional response you get. Give yourself a new rating and you should feel a marked difference, with your rating moving closer to 1. You can repeat this exercise as many times as you feel that you need. So why would this work? Well, to help your left brain need for logic, let me explain. Our brains don't know the difference between what's real and what's imagined. If you were to put someone in an MRI scanner and ask them questions about real or imagined events, the same part of their brain, the same neurological pathways would light up, and we can use this knowledge to our advantage. We can act in a certain way as we are triggered by certain events due to our beliefs, our experience, and our memories. We have in effect created these patterns of behaviour over and over time, and so they've become habits. Unless we reprogram our brains, we will continue to run these programs that are not serving us. By taking a new positive image and slicing it over the old negative one, we're showing our brains a new way of acting and behaving to the trigger. Once we've had the imagined thought once, it becomes stored in our brain like a memory. As our brains don't know the difference between real or imagined, when this trigger appears again, our brains will search for ways of responding, and this new, shiny, bold thought or memory will be there as a guide. Our brain believes that we have acted this way before, and therefore we can act this way again. It gives us more options, and the more we act in this way, real or imagined, the stronger the neurological pathway becomes. So, head over to my website, confidencebuildingwithkate.co.uk, and download the instructions for changing a negative thought and take back control. This is so key. As an entrepreneur, our thoughts are what's guiding us, are pushing us on, are getting us out of our own way. If we can change a negative thought, one that is creating a physiological response, an anxiety response in our body, if we can change that to a positive one, what can we achieve? Wishing you all the very best of luck.